Welcome back to AI for Business Professionals. This is Lesson 1.2, Tour of Claude AI. I'm Dr. Song. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to open Claude AI, start a conversation, create a project, and switch between models with a clear reason for each choice. That's the outcome. And it matters for a simple reason. Tool friction. Not understanding where something lives, which button does what, gets blamed on Claude every time. If you fumble the interface, you'll feel like the tool is failing you, when really, you're just one click away from what you wanted. Let's remove that friction now so every later lesson runs clean. Before we start, I'd like you to open Claude AI in another browser tab and follow along. Sign in with your Claude Pro account. We'll build the muscle memory together. This is what you'll see every time you open Claude. In the center of the screen, there's a large input box. That's where every conversation starts. You type a question or paste in some text, press enter, or click the arrow, and Claude responds below. At the bottom of that input, you can see the current model. Right now it says Sonnet. We'll come back to the model picker in a minute. Down the left side is your sidebar. This is where Claude keeps track of every conversation you've had. Each one is called a chat. You can click any past chat to reopen it exactly where you left off. If the sidebar is hidden on your screen, look for the small panel icon in the top left corner. Clicking it toggles the sidebar open and closed. Let me start a new conversation. I'll type something a business professional actually might ask. Watch what happens. Claude starts producing a response, word by word, right below the prompt. A few things to notice about this response. Each subject line is numbered and concise. That's because I asked for 3 and said subject lines, which Claude interprets as short. Below the response, you can see 4 small icons: a copy button, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, and a retry icon, which looks like a small circular arrow. If you click copy, the text lands on your clipboard, ready to paste into Outlook or Gmail. If a response is not useful, the thumbs down sends a signal back to the model makers to improve it. That's how Claude learns what good looks like over time. And the retry icon, this is the one people miss, regenerates the answer. If the first response wasn't quite what you wanted, you don't have to retype your prompt. One click gives you a fresh attempt. Now, I want to pause for a moment before showing you the next feature. Here's the question. Suppose you're not writing a one-off email. Suppose you're working on something long-term. A research project, a recurring report, a client account you come back to every week. You don't want to re-explain the context every time you open Claude. Where do you think Claude stores a long-running piece of work like that? Pause the video for 5 seconds and make a guess. What's your best prediction? Here's the answer. It's called a project. A project is a container for a long-running piece of work. Each project has its own set of conversations, its own file uploads, and this is the part that matters. Its own set of instructions that Claude remembers every time you talk to it inside that project. Let me create one right now. I'll call it AI Coursework. The same project you're going to create as your deliverable at the end of this lesson. Below the name, there's a box for project instructions. This is where you tell Claude how you want it to behave in every conversation inside this project. For this course, we'll paste in the interface cheat sheet, the pairing document that comes with this lesson. Those instructions will travel with every chat you open inside the AI coursework project. And now, anything I do inside this project, any conversation, any file upload, any artifact, inherits those instructions. That's what project means in Claude. Next feature, artifacts. When Claude generates something that looks like a standalone document, a checklist, a memo, a piece of code, a table, a draft, it sometimes opens the output in a separate panel on the right side of your screen. That panel is called an artifact. Artifacts are useful because you can edit them, copy them, or export them without cluttering your chat history. Think of them as Claude's workbench. If you ask Claude to revise the checklist, Claude updates the same artifact. It doesn't restart from scratch. You'll see artifacts constantly through this course. Documents, summaries, spreadsheets, anything substantial lands here. One more thing about artifacts before we move on. Notice on the left sidebar, there's a dedicated artifacts entry, right between projects and code. That's because artifacts is a first-class destination now, not only a side panel. Clicking it brings you to this gallery. From here, you can start a new artifact deliberately. Pick a category like documents and templates, or productivity tools, or click Start from scratch, instead of waiting for Claude to spawn one for you mid-chat. Now, the model picker. This is one of those places where a minute of judgment saves you hours of frustration. You have three models to pick from: Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. The official descriptions tell you one is fast, one is balanced, one is the most capable. That's true, but it's not how I actually choose. Here's how I actually choose. Haiku I use for throwaway tasks, quick rewrites, short summaries of something I already understand, formatting help. If the answer doesn't need to be right the first time, I use Haiku and save my pro usage for tasks that matter. Sonnet is my default for anything that matters. Business writing, analysis, research, synthesis, almost any work task a professional actually cares about the outcome of. Sonnet hits the accuracy I want at a speed that doesn't interrupt my flow. Opus I reserve for tasks that are genuinely hard. Tricky reasoning, complex trade-off analysis, long documents that need deep synthesis, or anything where I've already tried Sonnet and wasn't satisfied. Opus is slower and uses more of your daily and weekly allowance, so I don't reach for it by default. Two more things before we wrap. File upload. You can upload PDFs, Word documents, spreadsheets, and images directly into the conversation. Claude reads the file and incorporates it into its answer. And the last, the settings menu. Inside settings, you can manage your account, see your pro usage, and control a few preferences. Most of what's here you set once and forget. 3 common mistakes I watch new Claude users make at this stage. First, starting a new chat when the context belongs in the existing one. If you're working on an evolving draft, stay in the same conversation. Every new chat starts Claude with zero memory of what you were doing. Second, using Opus for trivial tasks. We just covered this. Haiku for throwaway, Sonnet for what matters, Opus when you actually need it. Third, assuming Claude remembers yesterday's conversation. It doesn't. If you need continuity across sessions, that's what projects are for. Open yesterday's chat, or better, keep the work inside a project. Here is your task for this lesson. It takes about 5 minutes. 1. Create a project in Claude called AI Coursework. 2. Open the interface cheat sheet that's attached to this lesson on Canvas and paste its contents into the project's instructions. 3. Inside that project, start a first conversation, ask Claude anything you like, and take a screenshot of the project page showing the new project exists and has at least one chat in it. Attach that screenshot to the Lesson 1.2 activity page on Canvas. That project is where you will live for the rest of this course. Every lesson from here on assumes you're working inside it. Up next, in Lesson 1.3, we'll start writing prompts that actually work. You'll learn the 4-part anatomy every strong prompt has, and you'll watch me take a deliberately weak prompt and rewrite it to a strong one in real time.